There was a lot said and not a lot said. You know, one thing I will say, he didn't want to say her name during the interview because he didn't want to give her any more clout. And he also asked that we not interview her, which I find very interesting because we've never had a request from somebody to not interview somebody else. Now, I could understand from his perspective of not wanting to allow her to continue to trash his name. And in all honesty, I called him, or I reached out to him via DM when the audio recordings went live. And then he actually reached out and got on a flight that next day and came here to LA to sit in person because he said to me he felt it was important of an issue enough for him to be in person for people to be able to see him. But then when he got here, I don't really feel like he talked a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I have a few things to say. One, I see some mutual cattiness. Him was very, very low key, very discreet, but there's something that's going on between them. I do believe maybe they weren't in a serious relationship, but then why would you be over her house when the roommate and the child is there if this relationship didn't get to a certain kind of level? That doesn't really make any sense to me. But at the end of the day, man, I feel like whatever turmoil they went through in there, whether it was arguing, whatever, children pick up on that. Like me and my son's mom, back when we used to have our disagreements, our son would pick up on that. That's why you shouldn't argue around children. And that could lead to why the young boy who's clearly craving and crying for attention thought maybe I can use his name and maybe mommy will believe me more if I use this name because I've watched mommy argue with him before. So we got to be very careful, all of us out here that have children, nieces, nephews, little cousins. Watch how you argue around kids because it does shape and it does, kind of mold them to do certain things.
Yeah, I love the interview in the sense that Jason, I could tell that you were trying to get as much information out of him as possible, but he's very low key, and street dudes don't really like to talk about stuff like that in detail because they have a lot of discernment. I will say this though, everybody on this show, we all three of us, me, you, and Damage, we all know how it feels to be falsely accused of something and how horrible it feels and how enraging it is when your name is being used in a way that you know for a fact that you don't deserve. So despite what I said earlier, that I'm still thinking about the law in that sense. I do understand why he'd be upset that something so nasty and egregious would be attached to his name when he knew that he didn't do it, right? And I understand that perspective, and I don't actually even fault him for being upset with her, even though I still do believe that sometimes horrible things happen, even though nobody's legally at fault. I do think though that watching that interview made me realize, to Damage's point, that there's two problems here that are being conflated. It's a couple that has their own adult issues that are just catty with each other, probably outside of this incident, and a child who was scared and made up a lie that caused the big mess. And I want to make sure that when he is going after her, that he's being honest with himself. Are you mad about the fact that her child lied, or is this a way for you to let go of other displaced anger that you had about your relationship completely outside of the case? So I feel kind of torn watching the interview because I can tell that he's upset with her about their own stuff and he's mad about being falsely accused. But at the end of the day, if the child lied and the person took culpability and said, "Hey, we made a mistake. This didn't happen," be very honest with yourself about why you're taking legal ramifications now that you've been vindicated. Like, why continue this
This
story
is
now that
but
it's been vindicated?
this is the sad part again, as somebody who survived child molest. We're talking about a kid who's making claims that they're now walking back saying that they may not be true, and a man who's in the hip hop industry, just a black man in general, who's being accused of horrific things, and labeled a pedophile and attacked online. And then goes out, and then after all this, she actually apologized. Take a look.
I'm gonna publicly apologize and say that he finally took a lie detector test. It took a while. It didn't have to take so long. Like, I never was trying to ruin his career or trying to get clout or nothing. I just believed my son. I really believed him, and I just was gonna do whatever I could for my son. Like, I was gonna slide for my son, whatever, however that means. And he dealt with it in his own ways, but finally we came to an understanding and agreement, and he decided to take the test, and he did it, and it's done. It's over with. He passed his test. My son told the truth, and that's it.
There's more that happened, okay? And this is the crazy part. He went and created a song called FTN, Fuck the Net. So he did this
Oh,
song where he went after social media and the internet, and it was his way of creatively addressing the issue, which I kind of respect that he pulled up, and I also kind of respect, to clarify that, and I also respect the fact that he put out a song talking about it, which he's now benefiting from. And then she went on after we did this interview, and she came forward saying that she was forced to give the apology after Doodie took the lie detector test. She said that she is asking for this investigation to continue even after they have said that there's no evidence. Now, here's what she said after we did this interview, but before the interview aired. Take a look.
And take the test way earlier. But whatever, you know what I'm saying? So he takes the test, and supposedly he passes the test. So I talked to the nigga that did my lie detector test, and he said he passed. I'm like, okay. Well, shit, he passed the fucking test. So now what? So I'm like, I'm going to hear him out. I'm going to listen to what he got to say. Because I said I would do that if he passed the test. So, all right, you wanted to pass the test. All right, let me hear it. He being all nice to me. Oh, I miss you. Like, oh, this is so crazy. And there was times I really just wanted to talk to you about this. And just being nice. Oh, wipe your tears away. Don't cry. It's not your fault. I know your heart. I know you ain't do this because of that. I know you just did this because that's what Wes said. I don't know why they lied on me. But, oh, wipe your tears. I'm going to help you get through this. I got you. I'm going to make sure that nobody bash you. You know what I'm saying? I just want you to issue me an apology. I don't even want to put the lie detector results on the internet. And I was like, why? He's like, oh, I just don't want them to make they're gonna make another narrative. They're gonna put it all in the shade room. I don't want it to go in the shade room. And I was like, listen, even if I go issue apology, it's gonna go in the shade room. He's like, oh, but it's just this gonna be different. Like, I just want apologies, fuck my life up, blah, blah, whatever. I listened to this man all day. I listened to this man for like 4-5 hours. I listened to the man for 4 or 5 hours. And I told my son when I first got a call, I said, Wesley, David passed his lie detector test. Wesley started crying, ran in the crib. I stayed in the car, I talked to David for like 4 or 5 hours. I'm just listening to everything he had to say. I'm still telling bro, I don't know about the kids saying this. Why they saying that? Why you did this? I'm trying to figure out why he moved the way he's moved. Why you dissing me? Nigga talking about he ain't diss me. He talking about that wasn't a diss song for you. My nigga, you named that shit FTN. Like, what is you talking about? Now you want to be in my face, all sweet, like, no, that wasn't the case, blah, blah, whatever. So I say, listen, I'm gonna have to talk to my son. I'll let you know how I feel. I was trying to call my attorney, trying to figure out what I want to do, but he was just like, oh, if you don't issue the apology, then I'm gonna just have to do what I gotta do, and I'm gonna have to just keep dragging this, and I don't want to have to keep dragging you through this, and I don't want to have to keep doing this. I just want to go about my business. I want us to move forward. I miss you, like all type of shit. So I'm like, all right, bro, I'm gonna go talk to my son. So I get upstairs, I talk to my son, bro, and it took my son like an hour and a half, an hour and a half or 2 hours to even say a word. Like, he just wasn't even talking. I'm asking him, bro, did David do this to you? Yes or no? Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. I'm just come on, talk to me. Tell me the truth. He's just looking at me with tears in his eyes. What's that mean, Wesley? Talk to me. I don't understand that. Talk to me. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to have David on the phone. But David was like, oh, I want to hear what he got to say. Because if not, I'm going to still think you got something to do with it. And I don't have nothing to do with it. It's coming from my son. So I'm like, all right, I don't give a fuck. Like, you can hear him talk to you. Like, he ain't going to talk to him. But I'm going to put the phone down. You can hear him. So I put the phone down. And I'm talking to my son. He don't see his face or nothing. I see his face. I'm talking to him. He just looking at me. I'm like, Westy, bro. What's the truth? Cause he passed the test. If you're confused at how he passed the test, you could be confused. I'm confused. But I just need to know the truth. Just sitting there looking at me, standing looking at me. No one trying to say nothing. Not trying to say shit. Crying, tearing up, not doing nothing. And then finally he's like, after goddamn an hour and a half, 2 hours, he's like, I made it up. He said, I made it up. I'm like, bro, you didn't make that up. Like, I know David's recording, so I'm not even trying to be like, oh no, Wesley, I know you're lying. Because I know my son, but I couldn't do that because then I'd be coaching him. So I had to just let him talk. So I'm just looking at him like, come on, my nigga, like, you saw the nightmares is fake. Talking about, yeah, like, I'm looking at him like, come on, like I see you having nightmares, like I know why he's saying that. I know why he's lying. He's doing that because David's on the phone. He's doing that because he's confused and he don't know how David passed the lie detector test. Because in my son's head, he believed what he's saying because he's telling it to me, and I believe him. And I believe everything that he's gone through, and I believe all his trauma that he's been through. And I also believe baby Alex, who says she seen David chasing my fucking son upstairs in my house naked. There's no reason why a 3-year-old who don't live in the same house as me tell me that she seen David chasing my son naked upstairs. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. And then she say she seen him do something to him to make him cry. Ain't no way. And then when I asked her and I say, well, what did he do? She say, I closed my eyes. I said, why? She said, because I was scared. That's coming from a 3-year-old. But they don't even live in my house. I don't talk to her about none of this shit. So you mean to tell me that the 3-year-old and my son, they just both lying? All the kids lying on you. All the kids lying on you. For what? The fuck they lying on you for? For what? I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm not lying. It's clear as day. He know I'm not lying. He know this ain't coming from me. He know this ain't no, oh, she crazy. I ain't want her. He know that's not true. That fuck nigga, he know that's not true. He know that's not true. Why he apologized to me so sweetly? Like, how his tone just, how you go from dissing me 3 times in music to then say, oh, I'll accept her apology. I'm not finna bash her. Nigga, you been bashing me. You been bashing me this whole time. Now you don't want to bash me because I just did what you wanted. He backed me in the corner and my son lied to me. And my son lied to me while he's recording. So now he got a recording of my son saying he made it up. I know that's not true.
It's the no tears for me. And maybe there was an inner cry there, but I feel like, unfortunately, this kid and these kids are now in the middle of 2 grown-ass adults who have a relationship problem. What I'm going to rest on is the document that I have from the law. And it says that they did a forensics review of the kid and that they found nothing there and that there's no evidence to press any law, any charges against him. And the thing that was coming over me as I was watching this is I felt like she was fighting hard for us to believe her so she can beat him in a court of public opinion. Because if I had a kid who was molested and I felt like the laws were not taking it serious, I'd be online burning them down every day. Are you crazy? I would organize a march in front of the hospital, in front of the police department. I would be frantically begging for somebody to hold them accountable to get the proof so I could hold him accountable. The other part is you can't really blame a person for how they grieve or how they get frustrated. So I'm just sitting here very confused at all of this and why it's continuing to go on. What I know for a fact is there was a claim by a kid whose mother left him alone repeatedly, cooking food on the stove at less than 6 years old, that a man that she was dating, who she left him home with alone, put screws up his anus. I know that the man then said it didn't happen. I know that the law said that there's no proof and no charges. I know that he did an interview and said he didn't do it. And she went on and said she was forced to tell a lie. The sum of all of that is this is a hot ass mess and that kid needs to get help. And I think that CPS needs to step in and talk to this kid and ask questions, because ultimately this kid was probably in the other room listening to this mother make this video for social media.